Hello, Senior Stoner fans. It's the real Senior Stoner back at you for your Rio Makeover dab of the day. Hello, everybody. Today is Wednesday. What is generosity? And how can we be more generous? How can we be a more generous person? Let's discuss. Well, generosity is the act of being kind, being selfless, and giving to others. Despite being an act that is done to benefit others' well being, generosity also paradoxically increases our well being, the person who's being generous. So, being generous is a fantastic way to improve your mental health. That's right, and well being. Not sure how to do it? Let's discuss how we can all be more generous people. First, why is generosity good for you? Got to be good for you to want to do it, right? Well, it's a good thing to be generous for our mental health and our well being because when we give to someone we care about, we make it more likely for them to give to us. Reciprocation. Making us more likely to give to them, and so on and so on. It works like this, goes in motion. And as a result, there are certain regions of our brains associated with pleasure. Guess what? They light up. It makes us feel warm and goosey inside when we are generous. We've also learned that generosity is exponential. What do I mean by that? Well, when it comes to improving our happiness and well being, generosity is a good choice because it has a ripple effect. If someone else sees us do something kind or generous, it usually makes them more likely to be generous too. Think about it. You're walking down the street. Unfortunately, there's a homeless person asking for money. There are 100 people in front of you who give nothing. You keep walking. 2 or 3 of those people stop and put change in or dollar bills in. You may give something. So you're more likely. And even saying a simple thank you can inspire the two of you and those watching to be more generous. It's how generosity creates that ripple effect, helping us feel happy, happier, and less lonely. So what stops people? Why aren't we all just generous all the time? Why is everybody not generous? Well, what are the precursors to becoming a more generous person? It turns out that building positive thinking skills is an important precursor to getting the most we can out of generosity. Interesting. Why? Because positive emotions like gratitude, joy, or awe make us more likely to give. The happier we feel when we give, the more likely we are to give to others again in the future, and the more grateful we are in general. The more we enjoy the experience of witnessing other people benefiting from our gifts. So if we're having a hard time being more generous, we can benefit from developing positive thinking skills. Your generosity, our generosity to someone else, keeps moving. It's in motion. But what stops us from being generous people? Well, it's lucky for us. It's our default as human beings to be generous. But we can accidentally override our natural inclinations to give by over-relying on the thinking part of our brain. Instead of following our natural impulse to be kind, people may come up with reasons for why they shouldn't give. Maybe we want to buy something for ourselves. Maybe we're afraid of not having enough. But if our goal is happiness, either our own or other people's, that's a big mistake. We feel happier giving to others, remember that, than spending money on ourselves. So try to overcome fear of not having enough, which can stop you from being a more generous person. I used to have money attacks constantly because Mrs. Stoner and I used to be paycheck to paycheck. Went on for years. It's very difficult. How do you become a generous person is a very important thing to discuss. Well, once we're open to trying to become more generous, either to increase our happiness or the happiness of others, how do we do it? Well, we could try giving gifts on holidays to acknowledge accomplishments, or just because we feel like it. That's my favorite way to give a gift, always has been in this house, just spontaneity. We can also practice random acts of kindness. For example, leaving a sticky note with a smiley face on it, emailing a friend or a family member to tell them you're grateful for something they did, offering to buy them lunch when you're able to when the world clears up again. How can you make generosity more impactful? You know, it's one thing to say I'm generous, but is it taking hold? Is there teeth to what you're giving? Well, to make giving even more rewarding, maybe focus on giving in ways that make a positive impact in someone else's life, not just our own. The more we believe that what we give will be valuable or useful to others, the better it feels. The more and more we know about how the receiver will use the gift, the more we enjoy giving. People really do want to know not only that they're making a difference, but also how they're making the difference. So, when you give, when you decide to be generous, do it thoughtfully and intentionally. It just feels better, both to the person who's giving and to the recipient. It's important. Generosity is not the same thing as being smart, being wealthy. Generosity transcends all of that. It has nothing to do with the socioeconomics of anything. Generosity. Generosity can be anything. And you know what? That's how we should live. We should live thinking instead of just, oh my goodness, how can I help make myself happier today? We should live thinking, how can I make others happier today? That's the epiphany. The epiphany is we don't have to just do it for ourselves anymore. Okay? Generosity is a pay it forward thing. If you're generous for someone, to someone, they're going to be generous to you. I heard today on a local Facebook page that a woman was in the Dunkin' Donut drive-thru, and as she and her husband pulled up to pay the bill, they're informed that the bill was paid by the car 3 cars in front of them. Okay? That person is never going to get a thank you from the person who they bought the food for. But guess what? They did it anyway. That is doing something good for someone without expecting anything in return. Does that define generosity? If you enjoyed today's discussion on generosity, please subscribe to my channel. Send me comments. I love to reply to all of them. I know there's a zillion of them on there right now, and I'm going to get to every one of them. This has been The Real Senior Stoner. Thanks for watching, and have a great day, everybody. Cheers. Here we go. My goodness. I should call it the sledgehammer of the day. Cheers, everybody.